In a small village, nestled at the edge of the great African savanna, where the wind whispered secrets through the tall golden grasses, there lived a young man named Kofi. His eyes were dark as the night sky, yet always searching, always restless. The elders said he was different always, listening to things others could not hear, feeling what others could not feel. Some nights, when the moon was hidden behind clouds, villagers swore they could hear Kofi talking softly to shadows, as if speaking to invisible beings. The village itself was alive with stories. Smoke curled from clay huts, carrying the scent of burning wood and spiced stew. Chickens scratched the red soil while children chased each other, their laughter echoing across the hills. Beyond the village, the forest loomed like a living fortress, dense and green, humming with the calls of unseen creatures. The river, wide and slow, reflected the moonlight like a silver serpent. Mountains framed the horizon, their jagged peaks touching clouds that carried ancient storms. One evening, under the blood-red glow of the setting sun, Kofi sat alone at the riverbank. The villagers had gathered around the fire for storytelling, the elders drumming and singing ancient songs that spoke of kings, warriors, and spirits. But Kofi could not stay. Something deep within him tugged, an invisible thread pulling him into the forest. He felt it in the bones of the earth, in the whispering of the reeds, in the ripple of the river. As darkness fell, a strange wind rustled through the leaves. The drums from the village fire seemed to fade, replaced by a softer, older rhythm, a heartbeat that felt both distant and close, as if the earth itself was alive. Kofi shivered, sensing a presence he could not name. Shadows moved differently here, bending toward him, curling like fingers. Then, for the first time, he heard the voices clearly. Not words, but thoughts, urging him deeper into the forest. Kofi's heart pounded, but curiosity burned hotter than fear. He stepped past the familiar paths into the unknown, following the voices that seemed to weave through the trees. Fireflies lit his way, tiny lanterns floating in the cool night. Strange scents of flowers and damp earth filled the air, mingled with something ancient, smoky, and powerful. After walking for what felt like hours, Kofi came to a clearing he had never seen. In the center, a circle of stones glowed faintly under the moonlight, carved with symbols older than memory. The air was thick, humming with energy. Suddenly, a shape emerged from the shadows. It was tall, cloaked in mist, its eyes glowing like embers. Kofi froze. He felt a chill creep up his spine, yet he could not turn away. "You have come," the figure said, voice like wind through dry grass, both soft and commanding. "We have watched you, Kofi of the village. You are chosen, but every gift has its price." Kofi's throat was dry. Who are you?" he asked, though part of him already knew. "We are the ancient spirits of the land," the figure replied, moving closer, their forms shifting like smoke. "We dwell where the earth is strong, where the rivers run deep, and where the mountains guard secrets of the past. We see your hunger for power, for knowledge, for more than what your small village can give. But be warned, power is never free. It is given and it is taken." Kofi's pulse raced. He had dreamed of this moment, yet it was nothing like he imagined. The air buzzed around him, and he felt a pull inside his chest, as if his own heart were being tuned to a higher frequency. Fear tried to grip him, but excitement surged stronger. I want to learn," he said, voice trembling. "I want to understand the spirits. I want their power." The figure nodded, almost kindly. "Very well, but first, you must prove your courage. A trial awaits. You will walk where shadows linger, speak where silence reigns, and see what men were never meant to see. Fail, and you will be forgotten. Succeed, and your life will change forever, but you will also give a part of your soul in return." Kofi's hands shook. He felt the weight of the words, heavy and real, pressing into his chest, yet the fire in his heart could not be quenched. He nodded. "I am ready," he whispered. The spirit raised a hand, and suddenly the night itself seemed to shift. The trees leaned closer, The stars shone brighter, and the ground beneath Kofi's feet hummed like a drum. He felt a surge of energy that was not his own, a touch of something immense and terrible. And then the figure vanished, leaving Kofi alone in the glowing circle. He realized then that nothing would ever be the same. The forest whispered around him, secrets of the ancients curling through his mind. The river murmured in a language older than words. The stones glimmered with unseen fire. Kofi felt both awe and fear, wonder and dread as a single thought settled in his heart. I am chosen, but at what cost? And somewhere deep in the distance, a drumbeat echoed low, steady and eternal, reminding him that the spirits were always watching, always waiting, and that his journey had only just begun. The night deepened, and Kofi remained in the glowing stone circle, his heartbeat echoing the drum of the unseen spirits. Every shadow seemed alive, twisting and swaying, as if the forest itself were testing him. The air smelled of wet earth and smoke, mixed with a faint sweetness of night flowers. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted, its call sharp and echoing like a warning. Kofi stepped forward cautiously. The stones beneath his feet hummed with power, vibrating against his soles. He felt the pull of the spirits, urging him to go further, beyond the safety of the circle. Each step carried a mixture of fear and excitement. The village, with its warm fires and familiar faces, felt miles away. Now, only the forests and the spirits existed. Suddenly, a shadow detached itself from the trees, a figure draped in flowing mist, glowing faintly like embers. Its voice was soft, yet carried a weight that pressed upon Kofi's chest. Your first trial begins, it said. You will walk through the path of shadows. You must confront what you fear most. Only then will you be worthy of the power you seek. The path appeared as if by magic, lined with twisted trees whose roots coiled like snakes across the ground. A thick fog rolled over the earth, curling around Kofi's ankles. Strange whispers floated in the air, voices of past souls, of ancestors long gone, urging him to turn back. Yet he pressed on. His curiosity and hunger for understanding burned brighter than any fear. The first shadow emerged suddenly, like smoke materializing from the ground. It took the form of a great lion, eyes blazing with fire, its mane flowing like molten gold. Kofi froze. The lion's gaze pierced into him, revealing every doubt, every regret he had ever held. Its roar shook the forest, echoing off the mountains and across the river, a sound so powerful it made the ground tremble. Kofi remembered the elder's words. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the strength to face it. He stepped forward, his voice trembling but determined. I am not afraid, he said. The lion's roar deepened, reverberating like thunder, yet he stood his ground. Slowly, the shadow bowed its head, disappearing into the fog. Relief washed over him, but it was short. The path twisted deeper into darkness, and with each step, the whispers grew louder, becoming cries and wails. Shadows of people, friends, family, even strangers appeared, distorted and hollow, their faces filled with sorrow and accusation. Kofi felt the weight of every life he had touched, every choice he had made. Guilt gnawed at him, threatening to make him turn back. A figure emerged from the fog, a hunter, clad in animal skins, carrying a spear tipped with obsidian. His eyes were fierce, yet his face was familiar. Kofi realized with a jolt that it was a version of himself. Older, hardened, a reflection of what he might become if he misused the power he sought. You seek strength, the shadow said, voice like dry leaves rustling, but power without wisdom will destroy you. Can you bear what it takes? Kofi swallowed hard. The forest seemed to close around him, the wind whistling through the trees like a warning. His hands trembled, yet he lifted his chin. I will face it, he said. The shadow stepped aside, fading into the mist, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the pulsing energy of the forest. The path finally opened onto a river, wide and silver under the moonlight. The water seemed alive, shimmering with its own inner light. Kofi approached cautiously. From beneath the surface, Ripples formed shapes of spirits of those who had once lived along these lands. Some smiled, some wept, some reached out as if to warn him. The whispers grew into a chorus, both beautiful and terrifying. A voice spoke clearly above the others, gentle but commanding. Kofi, you have done well, but the true test is not the shadows or the spirits, it is your own heart. To wield power, you must face desire and fear, hope and regret, and choose which will guide you. The river swelled, revealing images of Kofi's future. A great leader of men, a warrior commanding armies, but also a man consumed by greed, betrayed by friends, haunted by what he had taken. Every choice and consequence flashed before his eyes like lightning across the sky. His chest tightened, the weight of it pressed down like the mountains. Yet he knew he could not falter. A sudden wind ripped through the clearing, sending leaves and dust swirling around him. The drumbeats returned, low and deep, echoing in his chest. The spirit's energy coursed through him, electrifying every nerve. Kofi fell to his knees, overwhelmed, yet a single thought anchored him. He sought wisdom, not merely strength. He wanted the power to protect, not destroy. From the mist, the cloaked figure reappeared, its eyes like glowing coals. You have chosen wisely. Kofi, many would take power for themselves, forgetting the cost. You have faced fear, guilt, and desire and survived. The spirits have seen your heart. Kofi rose slowly, trembling but resolute. The forest seemed to breathe around him, the river singing its ancient song. He knew this was only the beginning. The power he sought would come, but so too would the consequences. Every step forward would carry a shadow, a weight that could never be ignored. As dawn approached, the first light of the sun filtered through the trees, turning the mist golden. The whispers faded, replaced by the song of birds and the rustle of the savanna. Kofi looked back once at the path he had walked, feeling the forest's gaze upon him. He had passed the trial, but the real journey, the one that would challenge his very soul, was just beginning. He took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the land beneath his feet, the ancient energy flowing through him. The spirits had tested him, and he had survived, but at a cost he could not yet understand. And somewhere deep in the forest, a drumbeat echoed, slower now, warning him that the trial was over, but the game had only begun. The first rays of the sun painted the forest in gold, illuminating the dew on leaves and the swirling mist that lingered like spirits still reluctant to vanish. Kofi emerged from the river clearing, his legs heavy, but his heart ablaze with newfound resolve. Yet, a subtle unease gnawed at him, sensed that the spirit's trial was only a prelude to something far greater. The forest seemed to breathe with him, its ancient energy wrapping around his shoulders like a cloak. Birds chirped cautiously, and insects stirred in the underbrush. Even the wind carried whispers, "Fento insistento," calling him deeper into the land where the spirits had chosen to reveal their secrets. Kofi followed, stepping over twisted roots and through tall grasses that brushed against his legs, the scent of damp earth filling his nostrils. After hours of walking, he came upon a mountain that rose sharply, jagged and proud, its peak shrouded in clouds. At the base lay an ancient cave, its entrance framed by vines and carvings, worn smooth by time. The symbols told stories older than the village itself, stories of kings, warriors, and the spirits who had shaped the land. Kofi's pulse quickened. He felt certain the spirit's guidance had led him here. Inside the cave, darkness swallowed him whole. He held a hand in front of his face and stepped cautiously. The walls glimmered faintly, as if illuminated from within, revealing murals depicting battles, rituals, and beings that were neither fully human nor fully divine. The colors were vivid reds, like molten fire, blues like deep rivers, golds that shimmered like sunlight through morning mist. The figures seemed almost alive, their eyes following Kofi as he moved deeper. A sudden chill made him shiver. From the far end of the cavern, a faint glow appeared, pulsing like a heartbeat. Drawn to it, Kofi moved closer, and his breath caught in his throat. In the center of the cave floated a crystal, translucent and shimmering with every color of the sunrise. It radiated energy, warm and fierce, and Kofi felt it calling directly to his spirit. A voice echoed around him, soft and commanding, as if the cave itself spoke. "This is the heart of the spirits," it said. "It holds knowledge, power, and the truth you seek. But understand, every gift here demands a price. To grasp it is to claim strength, yet to surrender part of yourself. Are you prepared to know what others cannot?" Kofi's hands trembled, but he stepped forward, touching the crystal. Instantly, visions flooded his mind. He saw the village in flames, shadows creeping through the savanna, warriors fighting in distant lands, and the spirits themselves, massive, ethereal beings with eyes that glowed like fire and forms that flickered between light and shadow. Then he saw himself not the young man he knew, but a figure wielding power beyond imagination. Yet with each act of power, something within him faded. The laughter of children, the warmth of the fire, the simple joy of life all began to blur and disappear. The more he took, the less he remained. A whisper penetrated the visions, chilling him. Power is a mirror. Kofi, it amplifies what you are, not what you wish to be. Choose wisely, or the spirit's gift will devour you. Kofi stumbled back, breath ragged, heart pounding. The weight of the crystal's truth pressed on him, yet within the fear, a spark of clarity shone. He understood the spirit's trial had not been just about courage, it had been about discernment, about recognizing the cost of desire. Many before him had sought the crystal, drawn by ambition, only to vanish, leaving hollow shells behind. The cave seemed to shift, walls stretching taller, shadows dancing like living beings. A figure emerged from the glowing Mista spirit in the form of an elder, his eyes deep pools of wisdom. "You have seen the truth, Kofi," the spirit said. "Now you must decide. Will you claim the power, knowing a part of your soul will be taken? Or will you walk away and retain yourself, but remain limited as man?" Kofi's mind raced. The desire to protect his village, to be strong, burned within him. Yet he also understood the warning. Power without balance would consume him entirely. He closed his eyes, recalling the laughter of children, the smell of the fires at his village, the wind over the savanna, the river's silver light. He felt the pulse of life around him, fragile yet vibrant. Slowly, he opened his eyes. "I want the power," he said, voice steady, "but not for myself alone. I will wield it to protect, to heal, and to guide. I understand the cost. Take what you must, but let my heart remain true." The crystal's glow flared, filling the cave with blinding light. Energy surged through Kofi, lifting him slightly off the ground. He felt strength pour into his veins, clarity into his mind, and warmth into his spirit. Yet beneath it, a quiet pain tugged, a subtle pulling at the core of his being, a reminder that the spirit's gift was not without consequence. The elder spirit nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "So it shall be. The power is yours, Kofi, but remember the soul you surrender may never return fully. Walk carefully and let wisdom guide your path." As the light dimmed, Kofi felt grounded once more, the crystal now dim and dormant. He knew that his life had changed forever. He emerged from the cave into the golden sunlight, the forest alive with the hum of ancient energy. The river sparkled in the distance, and the mountains loomed proudly, guardians of secrets untold. Kofi felt both awe and fear, excitement and sorrow. He understood that he had stepped into a world far greater than his village, where magic, spirits, and power intertwined with life itself. Every choice from now on would carry weight, every action consequence. And yet, deep within him, a fire burned, a desire to face whatever lay ahead, to embrace the spirit's gift, and to discover the true purpose behind the power he had claimed. The journey was far from over. The spirits had shown him the path, but only Kofi could walk it without losing himself entirely. The wind carried a faint whisper, almost like a sigh, or perhaps a warning. The gift is yours, but so too is the shadow. Beware what follows. Kofi tightened his fists, gaze steady, heart resolved. The spirits had revealed their secret. Now, the real challenge awaited him. Kofi returned to his village under a sky streaked with fiery orange and violet. The early evening wind carrying the scent of smoke and roasting maize. At first, everything seemed as he had left it. Children chasing each other along the red-dusted paths, women carrying water from the river, and elders sitting in circles, their faces lined with age and wisdom. Yet, something had shifted. Even the air felt heavier, charged with an unseen tension. As he walked, he sensed the spirit's presence, lingering around him, invisible eyes, watching, whispering reminders of the cost he had agreed to bear. The villagers noticed the change in him instantly. Kofi's shoulders carried a subtle weight, and his eyes gleamed with a strange light. The hunters bowed with respect. Children stopped to stare in awe, and elders murmured among themselves, sensing the power that had settled in him. But power rarely comes without temptation. Kofi felt it within Hema. Subtle pull toward pride, ambition, and control. He had faced the trial, seen the crystal, and claimed the spirit's gift. Yet now, the struggle shifted inward. Every choice, every word, every glance became a test. The whispers of the forest, once distant, now followed him into the village. A constant reminder that he was no longer wholly his own. The first conflict arose when a neighboring tribe crossed into their territory. They sought to claim the fertile riverlands and challenge Kofi's people. The village elders convened quickly, debating what to do. Kofi stepped forward, his new presence commanding attention. The villagers looked to him for guidance, their eyes wide with hope and fear. "Let me face them," Kofi said, voice steady, but carrying the weight of authority. "I have seen the spirit's power. I will protect our land." The elders exchanged worried glances. "Power comes with danger." "Kofi," one said softly, "you have changed. We feel it. Remember who you are." Kofi nodded, though a shadow of doubt crossed his mind. Could he wield this power without losing himself? Could he lead without succumbing to pride or wrath? The answer would come sooner than he expected. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the savanna. Kofi led a small group of warriors to the border, where the neighboring tribe had set up camp. From a distance, he felt the energy of the spirits coursing through him, a pulse of strength and clarity. Yet, intertwined with it was a subtle ache, a tug at his essence that reminded him of the soul he had surrendered. The first confrontation was brief. Kofi's presence alone unsettled the intruders. They hesitated, sensing something unnatural in his gaze. But as the standoff continued, he felt an unfamiliar surge of anger, a desire to dominate and show superiority. His hands trembled, and for a moment, he felt the spirit's energy bending toward wrath rather than protection. Kofi clenched his fists and closed his eyes, drawing a deep breath. He remembered the crystal's warning. Power amplifies what you are, not what you wish to be. Slowly, he centered himself, letting wisdom and restraint guide his actions. Instead of attacking, he raised his voice over the plain, calm and commanding. "Leave these lands. No harm will come to you if you respect our home." The leader of the intruders stepped forward, skeptical but uneasy. Kofi extended his hand, showing them the pulse of energy that radiated from him, not threatening, but undeniable. Slowly, the rival tribe withdrew, leaving the riverlands untouched. Kofi felt a surge of relief, but also an ache in his chest, a reminder that every display of power carried a shadow within him. Returning to the village, he was greeted as a hero. Yet, that evening, alone, by the river, the spirits whispered again. They reminded him of every choice he had made and every temptation he had resisted or nearly succumbed to. The glow of his inner power pulsed like a heartbeat, but so did a faint, lingering sorrow, a reminder of the part of his soul that was no longer entirely his own. Night fell, and the forest seemed alive around him, the sounds of insects, rustling leaves, and distant predators blending into a symphony of unseen life. Kofi felt the pull again. Stronger now, a desire for more, for control, for mastery over life and death itself. He shook his head, forcing the thought away. He could not let the spirit's gift become a curse. He must remain vigilant. In his dreams that night, he saw visions of the future, the village thriving under his guidance, yet shadows lurking at every corner, consequences of pride, greed, and impatience. The spirit showed him choices that could lead to greatness or ruin. He awoke with a start, sweat on his brow, heart racing. The weight of power pressed down, heavier than any spear or shield he had ever carried. Kofi realized then that the trial was far from over. The spirits had given him strength, yes, but they had also revealed the true challenge, mastering himself. Every act of bravery, every use of power would be a test of character. And the deeper he went into the path of the spirits, the more he would feel the tug of desire, fear, and shadow within him. He walked to the edge of the savanna, listening to the wind and the distant drums of the village. The night carried a scent of smoke and rain, of earth and life, and Kofi felt the pulse of the land beneath his feet. He understood the stakes now. The spirit's gift was a double-edged sword. He could rise as a protector, a leader, a hero, but if he failed, he would be consumed, leaving nothing behind but the echo of what once was. Somewhere in the distance, the spirits whispered again, almost like a warning and almost like a promise. Your journey is only beginning. Beware the shadows of desire, for they are closer than you think. Kofi looked up at the night sky, stars shimmering like scattered fireflies, and clenched his fists. His heart was heavy, but his resolve had deepened. He knew the next steps would test him more than any trial, more than any shadow, more than any fear, and the choice he made in the coming days would determine whether the power he had gained would save or destroy him on all he loved. The night was thick and heavy, the savanna quiet, except for the whisper of the wind through the tall grasses. Kofi stood at the edge of the forest, staring at the dark horizon where storm clouds gathered like an army of shadows. The spirits had guided him this far, yet their whispers had grown restless, warning him that the ultimate test awaited. His heart pounded with anticipation and fear, for he knew that what came next would determine the fate of not only himself, but his entire village. From the darkness of the forest, a figure emerged tall, cloaked in mist, its eyes glowing like embers in the night. This was no mere test of courage or restraint. The spirit spoke with a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. Kofi, the power you sought has awakened forces older than time. You must face the heart of shadows. Fail, and all you love will be lost. Kofi stepped forward, feeling the pulse of energy flowing through him, yet also the faint ache of the part of his soul already claimed. The forest seemed to hold its breath as he approached the clearing at the heart of the old mountain path. There, a swirling vortex of darkness floated above the earth, twisting and writhing like a living storm. Its energy was raw, ancient, and terrifying. Kofi felt the pull immediately, an almost magnetic force calling to his desire, his fear, his ambition. He remembered the crystal, the visions of what power could bring, and the cost it demanded. With a deep breath, he centered himself. He would not succumb to fear or greed. He would not let the spirit's gift devour him. Stepping into the clearing, he raised his hands, feeling the energy of the land, the river, the mountains, and the spirits themselves flow into him. The heart of shadows reacted instantly, sending tendrils of darkness swirling toward him. They twisted around his legs, reached for his arms, and whispered doubts into his mind. You are not enough. You will fail. Take more power. Take it all. Kofi felt his pulse quicken, and for a moment, temptation surged like a roaring fire within him. But he forced himself to remember the children's laughter, the warmth of the village fire, the trust of his people. His heart clenched, refusing to yield to the shadows. Drawing a deep breath, Kofi called upon the spirit's gift, not to dominate, but to harmonize with the land. Light surged from his hands, blending with the energy of the vortex. A battle of wills erupted, darkness and light twisting in the night, sending echoes across the savanna. Lightning flashed from the storm clouds above, illuminating the clearing with a brilliant, almost blinding glow. The heart of shadows shrieked, a sound both terrifying and sorrowful. as if mourning the countless who had failed before him. Kofi's vision. Urado. Yet he focused on the truth he had discovered in the cave. Power is not meant for selfish. Desire it is a reflection of the heart. He let the energy flow through him, guided by wisdom, compassion, and courage. The vortex twisted, resisting, but slowly, the light grew stronger. The whispers of fear faltered, and the tendrils of darkness began to shrink, curling like smoke before a rising sun. At that moment, Kofi felt a sharp tug at the core of his being. The part of his soul already claimed by the spirits. Pain flared, as if a fire burned inside him, reminding him of the price he had agreed to pay. He gasped, but refused to falter. "I am not yours to consume," he shouted into the night, his voice carrying across the mountains. "I will use this gift to protect, not destroy." A final surge of energy erupted from Kofi, a beam of pure light that struck the heart of shadows. The vortex screamed, twisting violently before shattering into a million sparks that scattered across the sky like stars. The storm clouds above broke apart, and the first rays of dawn pierced the darkness, bathing the savanna in gold and pink. Kofi fell to his knees, exhausted, his body trembling from the exertion of spirit and will. Around him, the forest was silent, yet alive with a renewed energy. Birds began to sing. The river gleamed under the sun, and the wind carried a sense of calm and renewal. The heart of shadows was gone, its threat defeated, yet the memory of the struggle remained, etched into Kofi's mind and soul. The spirit that had guided him appeared once more, this time with a softer, approving gaze. "You have faced the ultimate trial, Kofi," it said. "The power is yours, but so too is the responsibility. Remember this night, for it is not the strength of your arms, but the purity of your heart that will guide the fate of all you love." Kofi rose slowly, feeling the weight of the lesson settle within him. He had gained immense power, yet he understood the delicate balance it required. Every act, every choice, every use of his gift would carry consequences. The darkness he had faced was not gone entirely. It lived within him, a shadow to temper his strength, a reminder of humility and vigilance. Returning to the village, Kofi was greeted with awe and relief. His people sensed the transformation, not just the power in him, but the wisdom and restraint. Children ran to his side, elders bowed, and hunters lowered their heads in respect. Yet, Kofi's eyes reflected both triumph and the subtle ache of sacrifice. The part of his soul that would forever remain intertwined with the spirits. That night, around the village fire, Kofi recounted his journey, not the power he gained, but the lessons learned. The elders nodded in quiet understanding. The villagers listened with reverence, and the children's eyes widened with wonder. Kofi knew that the spirit's gift was both a blessing and a burden, a path that demanded constant vigilance. As he gazed at the stars above, the wind carrying whispers of ancient songs, Kofi realized that his journey was far from over. The power had been claimed. The shadows faced, but the real challenge would continue with every decision, every action, and every heartbeat. And in the silence of the night, a final whisper reached him from the spirits. "You have chosen well. Kofi, guard your heart, for it is the truest measure of strength." Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from myth and legend. We'll see you in the next one. The sun rose over the savanna, casting golden light across the village and the distant mountains. Kofi stood atop a small hill overlooking his home, the wind carrying the scent of earth, river, and smoke from the village fires. The trials, the battles, the visions they were all behind him, yet their lessons lingered like the quiet hum of the spirit's heartbeat. He could feel their presence around him, not as a weight or a threat, but as a gentle guide, a reminder that the gift he had received was intertwined with responsibility. The village was alive with activity. Children laughed, chasing chickens through red-dusted paths. Elders tended the fires and taught young ones songs and stories of the ancestors. Women carried water from the river, their voices blending with the soft calls of birds and the whispering wind. Everything seemed ordinary, yet Kofi saw it all through new eyes. Every movement, every sound, every heartbeat of life held meaning. a fragile balance of nature, community, and spirit. Kofi walked among his people, but the power within him was tempered now by wisdom and restraint. He felt the spirit's energy flowing through him not as domination over others, but as a deep connection to the land, the river, the forests, and the mountains. He understood that the true strength of a leader, a warrior, or a protector was not in controlling others, but in guiding, safeguarding, and nurturing. That evening, around the village fire, Kofi gathered the children and told them a story. Not the story of his battles, nor the glory of the spirit's power, but a story of choice, courage, and consequence. He spoke of the heart of shadows, of the visions in the crystal, and of the cost of desire, unchecked by wisdom. The children listened with wide eyes, their faces glowing in the firelight, reflecting the orange and red flames dancing like spirits themselves. The spirits, Kofi said softly, gave me power, but they also took a part of my soul. Every choice I make carries weight. The stronger you become, the more careful you must be. Strength without heart leads to destruction, and wisdom without courage leads to stagnation. You must always remember that balance is the true power. The elders nodded quietly, some wiping tears from their eyes. They had seen Kofi grow from a curious, restless young man into someone who carried both power and humility. The hunters lowered their heads in respect, understanding that the forest, the land, and the spirits were as much allies as they were teachers. Even the children seemed to grasp the lesson, their minds alight with awe, curiosity, and hope. As night fell, Kofi returned to the riverbank where it had all begun. The water shimmered under the moonlight, silver and eternal. The wind rustled the reeds, and somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted. Kofi felt the tug of the spirits within Haima, faint ache, a reminder of the part of his soul that had been claimed. He did not resist it, for he understood now that the price had been worth the lesson, and the lesson was not just about power, but about the heart that wielded it. He knelt by the river, cupping the cool water in his hands. He gazed at his reflection, seeing not just himself, but the spirits, the shadows, the choices he had made, and the path ahead. He whispered a prayer of gratitude to the ancestors, to the spirits of the forest and river, and to the land itself. The moonlight danced on the water, reflecting 1,000 sparks, as if the stars themselves were acknowledging his understanding. In the days that followed, Kofi's leadership became a testament to balance and wisdom. He led the village with courage, yet never for personal gain. He protected the land and its creatures, taught the children the importance of respect and humility, and listened to the elders' guidance with patience. The neighboring tribes, once a threat, became allies, drawn not by fear of power, but by respect for the harmony Kofi maintained. Yet Kofi never forgot the lesson of the crystal, the cave, and the heart of shadows. He knew that temptation would always return in subtle forms: pride, greed, anger, or impatience. Each decision was a test, each action a reflection of his soul. He learned to pause, to feel, to listen to the wind, the river, the mountains, and the whispers of the spirits within him. One night, as the village slept, Kofi walked alone along the savanna, the stars stretching endlessly above him. The wind carried the soft rhythm of the earth, a heartbeat older than time. He felt the faint tug of the spirits again, a reminder that the journey was ongoing, that the balance he sought must be maintained, not only in moments of crisis, but in every heartbeat of his life. He realized then the true moral of his journey: power without wisdom corrupts. Wisdom without courage is wasted, but courage, guided by heart and tempered by understanding, creates harmony and preserves the soul. The spirits had given him strength, but the greater gift was the clarity to choose how to use it. As dawn approached, Kofi returned to the village, the wind whispering blessings through the reeds and grasses. He had faced shadows, claimed power, and endured temptation, but in the end, he had preserved the essence of who he was. The spirit's gift was complete, not because of the strength it gave him, but because of the heart with which he wielded it. And somewhere deep in the earth, in the forests, rivers, and mountains, the whispers of the ancient spirits carried on the wind, a quiet affirmation that balance, courage, and wisdom would always endure. Kofi's journey had begun with temptation and fear, but it ended with understanding, harmony, and the eternal lesson that true power lies not in domination or desire, but in the heart that wields it responsibly.